The last episode in Infinity Countdown sets the stage for Infinity Wars and includes the fracturing of the Guardians of the Galaxy. Stay tuned. Infinity Countdown 5 sets the pieces in place so that when we hit Infinity Wars Prime, it hits the ground running. It is crazy. So let's get into this. So we start back with our dwarf buddy who's finishing a sword for this individual we see in the background. We see this sword and we see the sword long enough for it to cut through our dwarf buddy who's been working so hard this whole time. I told you he couldn't get no respect when he handed over that mask, and I was right. He's done for. Work hard and then die. But it goes back to who is this person, first of all? What have they built, and what have they built it for? And we're going to find that out probably in Infinity Prime. From there, we go to Soul World. And you remember Hank Pym ended up in Soul World after Ultron / Hank Pym managed to get the Soul Stone from Magus at the very beginning of Infinity Countdown. And he's there with Gamora's soul, and he's sitting there in this wasteland. He's going crazy because he's a tinkerer, and he makes the point that I'm a tinkerer. This is what I do. I find things and I solve problems. And he starts trying to build a piece of equipment, radio equipment, to send out a signal to try to contact the Avengers on an emergency frequency. And he manages to do so. Next, we're in Sanctum Sanctorum with Doctor Strange, who is sitting there doing whatever Doctor Strange does when Black Widow uses the Space Stone to jump into Sanctum Sanctorum. And when he does, she is very careful to tell him to be quiet, don't speak. And they're passing notes back and forth because they believe that somebody is listening through the Space Stone. So what Doctor Strange does is he hits a tuning fork and basically follows the echoes out and finds Turk Barrett. And this is actually a pretty good exchange because Doctor Strange shows up and he tells him, look, I'm Doctor Strange, I've come to talk. And Turk Barrett immediately tries to mind trick him into say, hey, forget about me. And Doctor Strange tells him, hey, straight up, that ain't going to work on me. And if you do it again, the second attempt isn't going to be good for your health. And so he introduces himself, hey, I'm Turk Barrett, how'd you find me? And Doctor Strange says some mystical art stuff. He banged on a crystal and followed the reverberations and found him. And so Turk, this is where he kind of gives himself away, and he has this big chip on his shoulder from being Stiltman. He says, you're making the mistake that most people do because I used to be Stiltman. You think I'm some kind of pushover. And Doctor Strange kind of looks at him and says, you were Stiltman? So I'm going to do this in voices because it's kind of funny. The Mind Stone is being held by a former Stiltman. Is that so hard to believe? Of course I believe you. Nobody would ever lie that they were Stiltman. But he makes the point, Turk Barrett does, he's like, look, I ain't stupid. Look up. And he's got 3 people posted up on a building ready to jump. And he says, look, they will never hit the ground. Release them now. And Doctor Strange is trying to get him to turn it over to the Avengers, and he says, not going to happen. And he makes him step. And Doctor Strange quickly saves the 3 of them. But by the time he does, Turk Barrett is gone. And he returns to Sanctum Sanctorum. And once he's back there, Black Widow tries to give him the Space Stone, and he basically says, I can't. And the reason is because he already has the Time Stone and they should be kept separate. Now, if you were like I was, and you're going through this issue by issue, you're sticking to the checklist that it says in the back of the Infinity Countdown series, you're thinking, wait a minute, Super Skrull had the darn Time Stone. And now all of a sudden, Doctor Strange has it. Well, it happened in Doctor Strange number 3, Legacy number 393. And it's actually a pretty good issue. But it was just done as a tie-in. I'm sorry, but if An Infinity Stone is changing hands. That's important enough to put in the main Infinity Countdown series, Marvel. Come on, you know better than this. You gave me 2 issues of Champions that have nothing to do with anything other than being trashed to up the Champions sales numbers. You did an episode of Captain Marvel that was boring as sin. And you did 4 issues of Darkhawk, which I can't fault you with that because I'm hoping Starhawk is going to be back, and it was actually pretty good. So I'm mad that I had to spend $15 on it. But the fact that this book, Doctor Strange Legacy number 393, wasn't included is an absolute joke on Marvel's side of the house. So it's annoying, and I actually did go pick it up and read it, and it was actually a good book, but it's just frustrating. But let me get back to the actual story. So we're back to the Guardians, and Star-Lord has taken them to this backworld safe house that he knows of, and while they're there, the first person they run into is Adam Warlock, and immediately Rocket realizes something's wrong, and he shouts that Warlock's not alone, and Gamora takes a swing at Kang, and Kang the Conqueror just catches it and says, you know what, we need to talk. And Warlock is seriously here just looking for information. He knows that they have the Power Stone, but he's asking them, look, we thought you might have a lead on where the Time Stone is at. And Star-Lord is just, why are you working with Kang? And Warlock tries to explain, look, desperate times call for desperate measures. He agreed me to help me with my mission like I have with his. And Gamora jumps in here with the change of subject of, you have it, don't you? You have the Soul Stone. And Warlock explains that he does, but it's not what it used to be. It's not what it once was. And Gamora is freaking out because there's a part of her inside there still. And that is the whole crux of this whole thing we've had going on with her, is that her soul, or part of her, is stuck in the Soul Stone. And Adam Warlock explains that, look, I don't think we should open it. There's something not right about it. I don't know if it should ever be opened again. And Gamora takes the sword right to Adam Warlock's neck, saying, if you deny me the Soul Stone, you are my enemy. And Adam Warlock just ninjas her away real quick, saying that's not happening. And Kang, he takes out the Guardians real quick right before Drax swats Adam Warlock and says, let her hold the dumb rock. And when he does, he catches the Soul Stone, and he sees that tree of doom, that the death that is within the Soul Stone. And we have this great one-pager that reminds us of what Adam Warlock, or what Kang showed Adam Warlock earlier in Infinity Countdown, Adam Warlock number 1. Now, remind you, Drax just knocked out Adam Warlock to give her the stone, to give Gamora the stone, and she charges him like she's ready to kill him, and Drax, of course, just swats her away and tells her to stay back, and he is fully convinced that no one should open the stone, and tells that to Adam Warlock. And basically Adam Warlock offers, hey, you could come with us if you want to make sure of that. And he chooses to do that. Drax goes with him. He said he apologizes to Gamora for striking her, but he feels called to do that, and he does. And it's kind of sad here. Drax looking back and just saying, look, I'm tired of guarding the galaxy. And Gamora's quest is just too dangerous in the Soul Gem. And Gamora argues, it was a heaven once. And Drax just looks away and says it no longer looks like that. And then they're gone. They take off. And Gamora immediately is like, we must find out where Kang hides now. And Star-Lord just tells her, no, we're not. And she is shocked. And Peter Quill just looks at her and says, not for me, not this time. And she straight up calls him a coward. And Groot looks at her and says, Groot thinks rocks are dumb. And Raccoon explains, look, there's no upside. The rocks are worth so much nobody can buy them, and you're just going to end up dead if you have one. And she's losing her mind here. Gamora has lost it. She starts laughing and just saying, my oldest friend just betrayed me and left with Kang, and now the three of you have lost your spines completely. And she just flips out. And she storms off after she punches Star-Lord in the face and says, look, I should have known as much when you left Nova to die in the Cancerverse. And they're like, look, you weren't even there. And as she walks away, she tells a bunch of these thugs and crazy folks hanging out on this backworld planet that, hey, they have a priceless Infinity Stone. Go get it. Talk about a straight-up jerk move. And she stomps off, and she's off to go do her own thing. From there, we're back to Hank Pym, who is sitting there just hoping that the Avengers are scanning their emergency frequency, and suddenly he gets the, you must hurry through, and we don't have time to keep the bridge open. He assumes it's Reed Richards, and he rushes through it, and you get this scene, this 2-page spread across the top of all these heroes, and real quick you start looking though, and you're thinking something is not right. You got Wolverine there. You got Thor sitting there, but Thor's got the golden arm now thing going on. You got Wonder Man's there. Wonder Man. Hey, wait a minute. Reed Richards hasn't been in the Marvel Galaxy for some time. What's going on here? And Janet Van Dyne comes up, and he's legitimately happy. He's so happy to be home. And it goes to this next page, and you realize this is some kind of interdimensional beast within the Soul Gem, and this is what everyone has been seeing. And Gamora just walks away. But from there, we're back to Doctor Strange, who is calling together the Infinity Watch, and he calls them all together because he knows that calamity is imminent and that Thanos is about to make a move for the stones. And that wraps up Infinity Countdown. This was the last book of it. Overall, I'd say this series had more good than bad. I'm going to do a video that's basically what you need to know in 5 minutes or less or something like that about Infinity Countdown. And but I'll tell you, one of my biggest disappointments is that this opening cover right here, the Super Skrull, we got no real story. Wolverine, we got no real story. And that kind of drew you in with two characters that I thought would be very interesting, and then they cut them off right off the bat. And that was kind of a bummer. But I've harped on that, and I think they wasted some issues, and I think the Doctor Strange issue with Super Skrull should have been in the checklist. It should have been in the series from the get-go rather than some of these other ones. But besides that, guys, overall, I really enjoyed Infinity Countdown, and I'm excited to get to Infinity Wars and doing the videos for you guys on those. Hey, so make sure you click subscribe, hit the bell for notifications. I'm trying to be more consistent about publishing videos. And with that, guys, Real Comic Stacks, out!